Well, Romain Grosjean was not the first-time winner today, but he came close. We did have a first-time winner. It was a fairly middle-of-the-road race, and that's pretty good for the IndyCar Grand Prix. So, there's actually a lot of things to talk about in the first race at Indianapolis in May. Let's get into it. And so, welcome back to the Indianapolis area. I'm actually in my own backyard, believe it or not. No, backyard videos are not going to become a regular thing. However, Indy GP was today. A lot of things to talk about. Obviously, the big to-do going into the race was Romain Grosjean. The pole position, the comeback story, and for the first 75% of the race, he sure did look like he was going to be untouchable. And honestly, I just got to say this right off the bat, Grosjean really didn't do anything wrong. In fact, the Dale Coyne with Rick Ware Racing team really didn't do anything wrong. He had the pace, looked like their strategy was at least halfway decent. It wasn't a bad strategy by any stretch of the imagination. The pit crew nailed their pit stops. There really wasn't anything to critique from Romain Grosjean. He even did the rolling start very, very well. There was some concern about that. I thought he did it flawlessly. I think, honestly, if you look at some of the starts from this year, probably did it better than some of the series regulars. But he just flat, straight out, got outrun by Rinus VeeKay, a product of the American system, the road to Indy. So I think Dan Anderson and everybody over there should take a bow, because you've got the American-grown talent, even though, of course, he is from the Netherlands, beating up on Formula One talent. And so really you had the story of this race really, I think, was the great mix. You had Dale Coyne Racing and Ed Carpenter Racing and Meyer Shank Racing, really looking like the contenders for the win. And really, how often do we get to see that? I mean, obviously, IndyCar is a very diverse series in terms of the amount of cars and different teams and different drivers that can win, but this was an abnormally competitive race for a lot of teams. But I think Rinus VeeKay in particular has had it coming for a while, and in fact, I think the Indy GP road course is one of his better tracks. He kind of proved that last year. Remember that great duel he had with Colton Herta in, I think it was, the first race of the double, or the second race of the doubleheader last year. They ran like 16 IMS road course races last year. Sorry if they all run together. But, I mean, again, it wasn't that Grosjean lost the race. I think it was that Rinus VeeKay just had the right pace, had the right strategy. It did look like the best strategy today was to get the black tire stint out of the way early, and that's what a lot of the teams that were really moving up through the field were doing, and Rinus VeeKay was one of them. They made up all the time on the red stint toward the end when Grosjean had to go red-blacks for a little while. And I think it's a great win. I think it's probably the first of many, and again, kind of going back to the theme of the beginning of the season, which is the changing of the guard. Colton Herta, Rinus VeeKay, Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, all these drivers who are beginning to rise to the top, as some other drivers, like Juan Pablo Montoya, who was a lap down all day, he used to be the top of the world for quite a while in this series. So it's definitely an interesting transitional period here in IndyCar. I mentioned Meyer Shank Racing running up at the front. Jack Harvey and that team probably would have won this race today if it hadn't been for a stall and then the cartoon anvil, which was the flat tire that they also got on one of the final pit stops of the race. I don't know when the Meyer Shank Racing good luck is finally going to turn, because they've had an awful lot of bad luck. But I think going into the Indianapolis 500, you look how fast Jack Harvey was at Texas Motor Speedway, you look at the 2 weeks of preparation they're going to have, and you look at the addition of Helio Castroneves going into the Indianapolis 500, I think that team is one that's going to sneak up on a lot of people. The only question, of course, and I talked about this in Texas, was those Andretti wheel bearings that we saw fail, particularly on the Meyer Shank cars. Again, we'll have to watch throughout practice to see how that goes. Graham Rahal is another driver I need to give a big shout out to. He was a driver affected in that first turn schmozzle. In fact, had a damaged car the entire day, and on the restart, he was probably 20 car lengths behind the next furthest back car. And yet somehow, by the end of the day, he managed to fuel mileage his way to a 5th place finish, and at a track that Graham Rahal is so good at, the Indy Road Course, and going to a track, he even mentioned in his post-race interview, momentum. He was one of the faster cars, in fact, the fastest car in the no-toe speeds at the April test on the oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He was third place in the race last year, and I just want to remind everybody that third place in 2019, Takuma Sato won the Indianapolis 500 in 2020. Just let's throw that out there and just see what sticks in terms of that. So the month of May has truly begun, and I confused some Europeans when I said that yesterday. When we talk about the month of May, it doesn't count for the month of May unless there's cars on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And yes, I have to begrudgingly admit, even if it involves cars going the wrong way on the main straightaway. So the month of May, really kind of the traditional month of May, kicks off on Tuesday. Can't wait for oval track running. It's going to be so exciting to see with 35 cars who goes home, who's fast, who's slow, and all those great storylines that we always have for the Indianapolis 500. I hope you guys will remain on this channel and follow me along on the journey. It was pretty good the last time we got to do this. I think we're going to be in for some excitement, some surprises, and a bandwagoner's guide coming hopefully on Monday, certainly before the start of practice. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. I will see you in the next video. Subscribe for more Indianapolis 500 content.